right. Hello, my friends. My name is Josh, and I'm an alcoholic and a sex addict. And that is not my identity, but I identify myself at the beginning, because that's how I stay rooted with when my life is lived on self-will. That's kind of where I end up, and that's not a distant memory. So that's why I start with that. But today I wanted to talk about drowning. Who has ever drowned before? People actually have drowned. Wow. So I have a friend. I was talking to him the other. I don't even know how we started talking with this. We were talking just like about swimming lessons or something with like, 'cause I'm taking my kid to swimming lessons now. And he made a comment being like, oh yeah, like when I was in like high school or middle school, I went to the quarry with a bunch of friends. And like, I'm not a strong swimmer, so he said. And he's like, so the friends wanted to swim across the quarry. And he's like, well, I don't know. I don't know if I can swim across the quarry. I don't know if I'm strong enough. But you know how middle school boys are, or high school boys, and come on, man, like you got this. And it's and just the slight bit of encouragement, and next thing you know, he's jumping in the water. Well, they start swimming across, and his buddies are far ahead, and he realizes I can't keep up to them. Nor it's like, I think he was like a third of the way, and he's like, I'm not going to be able to make it across. So he turns around. Next thing he remembers is that he comes to on the beach, and what they told him was that a woman was walking her dog on the beach, saw this kid sinking in the water, pulls him out of the water, CPR on the beach. Ambulance takes him to the hospital, and luckily he's alive. But what are the signs of, like, how do you drown? Is it maybe lack of skill? Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe it's the weather. Maybe it's a little wavy out, and you're not able to handle the waves. Have you guys ever seen the videos where like I didn't even realize this was the thing, but it's like people will take like infants and put infants in water and like in the pool. And I guess there's something about infants is like that. It's like they just don't drown. Like you probably can drown them, but it's like, but they somehow know how to hold their breath, and they somehow know how to do this. And you see these little tiny bodies in the water. So I never did that, but I'm like, well, maybe kids have this innate thing that they just know how to hold their breath and they know how to do things. So this is a couple years back, several years ago. And I'm at the wading pool with my kid, and they're very strict at times about like you can't do certain things, but they don't like you jumping in off the side. But I'm like, I'm just gonna stand right here, and he jumps in the pool, and I grab my son. Okay, and it's good, and I catch him. And then one time I'm like, I hope this isn't like a black dot, or this is like, I don't want to be scarring him, but I'm like, I want him to just be comfortable in the water. So one time I don't catch him, and I just let him hit the water. And when I pull him up, his eyes were like wide open, like his whole 3 years of life just flashed before his eyes. And it's like, I'm gonna lose my life. And I'm like, well, I guess the theory that it's like you hold, like kids just hold their breath underwater or whatever, I guess that stops at a certain point. But there's this fear that when he's drowning, and there's this fear that he can't catch his breath, and it's like, and he's just like, get me out of here. What does it look like to us to drown if we're not in water? What does it look like to be drowning spiritually? What does it look like to be drowning? What does it look like to be drowning in addiction? And it's funny because what's, and I don't know if it's true or not. I think I've heard of this before. But what do they also call drowning? Is it silent killer? No, it's not silent killer. That's carbon monoxide, isn't it? Okay, we can say drowning is also a silent killer, because it's not like the movies. The movies aren't where you're splashing around and all this stuff like that. It's like, if you've ever seen a kid slip underwater, they slip under quietly, and then they just don't regain it like that. I've seen that happen where I sent the ball to my kid, pushed it to him, and it's like, and he slipped, and he fell underwater. And I didn't even realize it at first. And then it's like, there's no splashing, there's no wailing. But I think that's what addiction can do to us. Addiction can be this silent killer that it's like, we don't necessarily see all this splashing, this wailing. It's just this slowly become isolated, slowly become disconnected from everyone. But we come into this terrible dilemma. You know, and the big book says it's like the dilemma is what? The dilemma is a lack of power. But we in turn, it says that we actually have to escape it. And we escape it with the same desperation of drowning men. That with that same desperation, I'm actually willing to do whatever it takes to save my life. There's I was in a group this morning, and it was kind of discussing you know, that there's four types of people when it comes to addiction. And it's like, you know, maybe you're in the first one, and it's like, you know, you're kind of rocking the boat a little bit, or maybe you're in the second type, and the second type is, you know, you can't control, and it's like, you know, you want to stop, but you can't stop. And the third type, it's like things are getting worse. And then the fourth is like, man, it's like you're really far down this hole. And the discussion led to, you know, it's often easier to show or to work with people that are of the latter two. I wasn't part of the latter two, though. You know, so I would say I'm part of the first two, where it's like, I was never really fully convinced that I was drowning. You know, because I still have the job, or I still it's like, I live this life of comparison that I'm like, well, I'm not like you, and I'm not like you. And it's like, okay, Josh, you got to detox. Well, it's like, okay, cool. I'll detox a little bit, but maybe I still want to hold on to certain things in my life. I want to, because I'm not really willing to let go. Because the way I saw it was, it's like, well, things aren't that bad. And yeah, maybe things weren't that bad yet. But they are definitely bad enough that it's like they were creating a lot of consequences internally for me, and creating consequences for my loved ones around me. So it's like, how far do I want to go? How much do I need to drown? So it would have been difficult to work with me at the beginning, because I would say I was combative. I was always pushing up against people, and maybe I got my ideas, and I said I would probably even like have a critical spirit, that it's like, I don't really need to listen to all these things. Man, those aren't symptoms of a drowning man. But I don't think we need to look at the symptoms. I think, I don't think we need to look at the consequences. I think what I need to look at is my solution working? And my solution could have been, alcohol. My solution could have been sex or porn. And it's like, was that actually doing the job that I was intending for it to do? Or I also called myself a Christian. Was that solution working for me? And in my experience, nothing was working for me. So I really had to start reshaping the ideas and the beliefs and the prejudices I had, because certain things weren't working. And I think it's because of me. It wasn't because of God. It wasn't because of anything else, but it's because of the things that I was actually putting in the way. And even recently, there's certain things that I don't have on my phone. But I got my friend called me out, and he's like, well, you're watching like YouTube shorts. I'm like, well, it's not Instagram shorts, so it's real. So it's not like they're not that bad, right? Like, we're just watching cute little cat videos. But he's like, well, let's just play this out. And is that something that's actually aiding in your recovery, or is that something that's actually going to take you down a path that you don't want to go down? All right, cool. I don't need to be combative, because if I'm combative, then what? That's all of a sudden pride popping up, thinking that maybe the other person thinks that I was combative. I don't think I was combative, but it's like, but it's like, yeah, boom, I'll delete that app right then and there. It's like gone. It's like if this is seen, because even though, I don't feel I'm on the hot seat like I once was. It's like, do I still live today as if I'm a drowning man? Do I still live today with that sense of desperation? And even like I was out last night, and yeah, and it was tough yesterday, like I worked yesterday and I came home, and my wife teaches piano in the afternoons into the early evenings. So it's like, so I get the kids supper and clean and bedtime and all that stuff. And then I leave the house to go help out with our LifeLab class. And I get back probably like 10:15. And I just remember saying to my wife, it's like, it's tough. Like, I'm tired, like, it's like, I'm not feeling well. I'm tired. And and her beautiful response was, but you know what? You were given a gift that was like, or you were given something, or how did she say it? I don't like, I'm horrible at misquoting, but she's like, you were given a free gift, or something was given freely to you. Like, what an honor it is to be able to pass that on to someone else. Yeah. All of a sudden, I'm not as tired anymore, because I know that if I want to act as if I'm in desperation, if I want to act as if I'm a drowning man, that this is part of it. This is part of that cycle, that it's like, my time is not my own time anymore. If you were to look at the LifeLab book, there's a quote by Nancy DeMoss, and she says, proud people are blind to their true heart condition. That speaks so much to me right there, that I was blind to where I really was at. I thought everyone else had the problem. I thought I wasn't that bad. And really, when I think that, it's just like, I can work my way out of it. But my ego needs to be crushed. Like, is it in, I could be wrong in this, but is it in The Wizard of Oz, the movie with the witch? And like, isn't there a spot that says like, I'm melting? Like, is that The Wizard of Oz? Okay, I haven't watched this video clip I like in years, so, but I think that's what needs to happen to my ego though. I need the same thing, that it's like, I don't even know what's melting her. What is, I have no idea what's melting her, but something is, and that's what needs to happen to my ego though. Because my ego wants to build itself up and being like, you're not drowning, you're fine, it's like, you just had a little rough patch, go back into the water. But I know what happens when I do that. And when I'm drowning, does it really matter? Like, if I know my true state, if I know where I'm going to end up, if I know, yeah, like if I know that left to my own demise, where things will end up, why am I all of a sudden so opinionated? Why do all of a sudden I think that my way is right? Why, when someone, like my old sponsor used to say this, that he's like, it's like someone throws you a life raft, you're a life preserver. It's like, who cares if it's blue or red? You're just grabbing on. But yet, for some reason, I can form these ideas and just be like, well, it's like, yeah, I don't really like that about the 12 steps, or I don't like this about LifeLab, or I don't really appreciate that about the Bible or God. And man, for someone who's a drowning man, I can form a lot of opinions very quickly. And my opinions are my attitudes, and then those come out of my actions, and it's like, in those actions, like I have this little lie that I tell myself that wants to try and keep myself safe, but really it's like there's this fear that's driving all of this. And I saw, like, we were watching that show, The Chosen, and it was a couple nights ago that we saw the season finale. And was it the end scene or close to the end scene when, if you haven't seen this, I'm sorry, but I'm going to talk. It doesn't matter. This is a 2,000 years old. So get over it. It is, they have Jesus walking on water. And just, there's ads on whatever. So it's like, you'll see this in a trailer probably. But Jesus is walking on the water. And Peter's like, command me to come out there. And he comes out. And Peter's has been in this piss poor attitude for days or weeks leading up to this. And he has this faith. Jesus commanded him to come out of the water. The storms are raging and he walks out, and all of a sudden he gets distracted. And he sees all the waves, and fear comes over him, and he starts to sink. And then next thing you know is all you see is you just see a hand coming in through the water. And the big book says this. It says, what seemed at first a flimsy reed has proved to be the loving and powerful hand of God. And I see that that's the opportunity that I have, that it's like Peter grabs his hand and he's pulled up into the boat. And then something happened before and after, but Peter was always saying, he's like, faith isn't my problem. Faith isn't my problem. Lack of faith isn't my problem. And I would have said the same thing. Like, lack of faith wasn't my problem. It's I believed in God, but I think I had prejudices around God. And I think I had certain beliefs about me. And I think often I think my pride has me look a lot higher upon myself than what I really am, or my current state. But he has this moment, and then it's just this grip that he has on Jesus, saying, it's like, don't let me go, or never leave me. I don't want to quote it, but it was something like that. Is that what I'm walking into my day with? Like, literally, like, Jesus, do not let me go today. Do not let me go. Because if you let me go, I am drowning. And I believe there is an enemy that is going to tell you, yeah, you're doing pretty good. You got this on your own right now. Go for it. And I think it always starts in this subtle whisper, this subtle little piece that just is like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you had God yesterday, but you can make this decision on your own. You can make you can form that sentence and make this opinion, and you can do all these things. And it's like, but when I start doing that, it's like all of a sudden I'm leaving God out of this picture. But do I have the same desperation that says, Jesus, do not let me go today. God, do not let me go, because if you let me go, I am sinking. And where does that sinking? They could look different for all of us here. Sinking could send you right back into lack of boundaries with someone. Sinking could send you back into, racing thoughts or compulsive thoughts, or it could send you back into drinking or sexual conduct, or whatever it is, whatever your story is, whatever you have gone to for ease and comfort, whatever you have gone to try and fill that hole inside of you. If I'm not holding on to God, that's where I'm going to slide back to. That's what I'm going to drown into. So what is my current desperation today? When I wake up in the morning, is my current desperation saying, God, I need you today? Because you are the one that has given me breath. You're the one that has given me life. You're the one that has given me shelter and food and everything that I have. Bring me close to you. And when I think that's my focus, everything else doesn't seem to matter anymore. Because God's going to give me exactly what I need when I need it. And he's going to bring me he's going to give you energy when you need it. He's going to give you rest when you need it. He's going to give you whatever it is. But as a drowning man, I got to get rid of my own strip myself of my own little ego, strip myself of what I think is right, because I'm in the middle of the ocean and I got this, what might seem like a flimsy reed, but it's really the powerful hand of God. And that's what's reaching down to me. And that's what's reaching out for all of us right now. And all we have to do is just stick out our hand and grab it.